Here we go. Welcome to the Profit Tool Belt podcast. This show is just for contractors. And if you serve residential or commercial customers and you're interested in the business of the contracting business, then welcome home. Because this show is all about getting you to the next level by showing you how to work smarter, not just harder, using business tools to attack bottlenecks and get you and your team to the next level. And it's not just talking, like we're going to show you how to do that, especially today. Now, you and I probably haven't met yet, right? But I know you're not here by accident because something in you is searching for answers. Nobody goes to look for a podcast on construction business profitability and construction business operations by accident. There's 1,000 other podcasts you could be listening to, but you're here because you're in the trades, you've grown a business, and you're curious about how to get to the next level. Something in you wants to find out more. So today's guest is me. My name's Dominic Rubino. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook. You can actually also find me on Facebook at a group that we've got called Contractor Strategy Group, which is just for the audience of this podcast and the other one that I host, also in the construction trades. But go to Contractor Strategy Group on Facebook and join there. It's just for contractors, and all we talk about is the business of the contracting business. If at any point you want to talk to me, just shoot me a text message. My cell phone is 315-903-7853 and just say, Dom, let's talk. Today, though, we're going to talk about a situation where you might be stuck self-implementing EOS, which stands for the Entrepreneur Operating System. So today we're going to get back to basics. Now, here's why this episode is important. I'm going to walk you through what it looks like to put a strategic plan in place. Now, whether you're doing one now, doing a strategic plan now and you're stuck, or you've never even thought about one, you're going to get value from this show. I'm going to share stories of people who've done it and had success. And I'm also going to talk to you, share stories about people who hit some major, major roadblocks and what they've done to overcome them. I'm also going to pull things apart into tiny, tiny pieces and then put them back together again right in front of your eyes. And if this doesn't get your interest, hopefully by the end of the show, I'm going to find a way to give you $501 each. $501. So look, there's simple systems to help you run this business. Make the money you want, live the life you want, be the dad you want to be the mom you want to be. Those simple systems give you quiet confidence to take this company wherever you want to get it to. If I had to summarize everything for this show, it's really about the mindset of being a business person who just happens to be a contractor. Now I just said mindset. Normally I do dad jokes, but today I want to do a little bit of wisdom for you. Why wisdom? Because I want you to think a little bit differently as we go into today's episode, but because today we're going to be talking about future focus, talking about clarity, moving from chaos to clarity, getting rid of the fuzziness that might be from just running the business and running and running and running and running and running. And where are we going? And oh my God, today was just like yesterday. And oh my God, what do I do next? Where am I really going with this? Let's get that out of your head. Let's get some wisdom in place. So first I'm going to talk about wisdom in business, and then I'm going to talk about wisdom in life. So wisdom in business, I found this really interesting story. It's been rolling around for a little while. Some of you may have heard it in other places, but it's the difference between advertising and marketing and sales and promotion. So here's a really, really, really good analogy. Imagine that the circus is coming to town and you paint a huge sign saying, circus coming to the fairground on Saturday. Well, that's advertising. Now, if you put a sign on the back of an elephant and you walk it into town, that's promotion. Now, if that elephant walks through the mayor's flower bed, that's publicity. Now, if you find a way to get the mayor to laugh about that, that's PR, public relations. If you did all of that on purpose, that's marketing. If the people of the town come to the circus, you show them the entertainment booths, you explain how much fun they'll have spending money at the booths, answer their questions, and ultimately they spend a lot of money at the circus, that's sales. So that's a fun little way to have some wisdom in business. Now, let me talk to you about wisdom in life. This is a story I've been waiting to tell for a long time on the show, and I didn't know which episode to put it in, but I thought it'd be good to hear for today. So I want you to just think on this one. Because we're all in the trades, I think we're going to understand the position this man is coming from and the wisdom he's putting into his products that he's making, right? An old pencil maker. It's an old man. He makes pencils. One day he took his newest pencil aside And just before he was about to put it in a box, he was thinking about the life that little pencil would have. And he said to the pencil, there's 5 things you need to know before I send you out into the world. Remember, he's talking to a pencil he's just made by hand. Always remember these 5 things. Don't forget them, and you will become the best pencil you can be. The first thing is to remember that you will be able to do a lot of great things, but only if you put yourself in someone else's hands. Number 2, every once in a while, you're going to experience a painful sharpening, but remember, that's going to make you a better pencil. 3, keep in mind you'll be able to correct any mistakes you might make along the way. The most important part of you, what's on the inside. And number 5, every surface that you get used on, you have to leave your mark. No matter what else happens, you must continue to write. I want you to think about those things, and you know already that I think you're the pencil. Thought that was a really wise way to enter this show. Sometimes I goof around and we tell jokes, and sometimes we don't. And today we did not. All right. I'm going to ask you a question. Have you been missing the end of the show? Are you hitting the fast forward button? William, I'm talking to you. You don't have to hit the fast forward. Are you like Clint Eastwood with that fast forward button? You're missing out on something big, because at the end of the show, I do a very specific extra training segment where I simplify and solve a common business problem. So make sure you stay at the end of the episode to find out about that. Now, you guys know this, and I've said it before, and I will say it in the episode. I host this podcast because it's my way of reaching out and adding value to you, so that when you find the time that you need a business coach, you reach back out to me. To do that is super easy. Just send me a text message and say, Dom, let's talk. You know what we'll do? We'll talk. And just send that to 315-903-7853. It's not only me, it's me and a team of business coaches. A team of business coaches. Matter of fact, at today's episode, I think I'm going to explain some of the massive changes that we've had here in my company. Those of you who've been following us closely have seen little indications of that already. Those of you who are already working with us know what's going on. So you'll have a good smile at the end. But let me go into business coach mode right now before we enter into this episode. I want to put another tradesman in your head. And I want you to think about the impact of being a tradesperson. A business person happens to be a tradesperson. Being more than what people see from the outside. There's a quote from this particular person, and he said, knowing is not enough. We must apply. Being willing is not enough. We must do. That quote was from Leonardo da Vinci. Now, we all know Leonardo da Vinci, but we probably know about him from different ways. He painted The Last Supper. He painted the Vitruvian Man. You know, that sketch on a big circle of a man, and he's naked, but he's standing sort of in a star pattern. And then there's multiple visions of him there. That's called the Vitruvian Man. Did you know that as a scientist, he had no formal education in Latin and math? Didn't even go to university. Does that sound like anybody on the show? He invented machines of war, bridges, helicopters. And you know what? If he existed today, he'd be sitting next to you at a conference, at a trade show. But look at the impact he's had on the world. And you, my friend, have that same impact. The things you make and the people you help matter. Have you ever thought about what it would be like to be a business person who just happens to run a construction company? That's exactly what this show is about. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. By the end of the episode, you're going to know what I mean. So let's get to it. Hello, everybody. Hey, listen, today we're going to be doing an episode where it's just me talking. And I do that from time to time when I want to bring clarity to a subject. And one of the things that I really want to bring clarity to today is for those of you that are self-implementing EOS. Now, for those of you who don't know what EOS is, I'll start there. Those of you who are self-implementing EOS or a strategic plan already know what I'm talking about, but just give me a quick second. EOS is an acronym, right? Each of those letters stands for something. And it's the EOS is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And now that all comes from a book called Traction, Get a Grip on Your Business. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the book behind me here, that black book with the orange title in it. It's a book written by Gino Wickman. And Gino has just done a brilliant job of summarizing everything that you need to do to get back in control of your business so that you can grow it the way that you want. Now, does he have the only system out there? No. There's a couple of systems out there. As a matter of fact, I've built two significant businesses, one of them using the EOS framework that we just talked about, and the other one with another really powerful framework that some of you might be using, especially if you're on the larger side of, if your company's much larger. And that one's called Mastering the Rockefeller Habits, and that's by Vern Harnish. Now, that one is a lot of gun for the bear. I'll tell you that. I'm familiar with both of those because I also built a company on that framework. But years later, Gino rewrote everything and came up with this EOS book. Traction is the book, and EOS is the framework. And then for more acronyms, we do something called a VTO, which is a Vision Traction Organizer. Now, those of you that listen to the show have heard many of our clients who we have as guests here talking about the success that they've had by putting systems in place in the business and having regular meetings and laying out their goals from a 10-year vision down to a 3-year vision, down to a 1-year vision. And then we show them how, on a quarterly basis, to grow, right? And that we do that through the coaching meetings that we have. And so all of the tools that go together for that is what we talk about here on the show, right? You hear me talking about issues of time, team, money, growth, exit planning, marketing, and sales. All of those things are captured. All of those actions are captured in that plan. So if you're stuck implementing EOS on your own, I want to take you through a 5-point checklist. We'll just do this here right now as we're going. If you've never looked at EOS, if you've never looked at putting a strategic plan in your business, that's okay. You might not be ready for it yet, but I do want you to pay attention to some of these things, because in your company, whether you've got 2 employees or 20 employees, you're going to find a lot of these similarities, and it's worth asking yourself these kind of questions. And look, I don't mind saying, I think the only place in our entire construction and contracting, podcasting, and YouTube framework where you even hear this stuff is through me. And the reason for that is because I've done it and I continue to do it. I don't rely on trying to reinvent the wheel all the time. I believe in finding a system and working the heck out of the system, just the same as you find a set of blueprints and then you project manage the heck out of it to get a successful outcome. I do the same thing on the business side, and I continue to do that. I've got coaches on my team. We're all trained the same. All of us have put EOS or Rockefeller in place in our own businesses. And so we know it. We've bumped against the sides. We've lived through the pains. We've gone through what I'm going to talk about today. So if you're self-implementing EOS, and if you're not, I think you're going to get a lot of value out of this episode. So let's jump into it. The very first thing I want to ask you is if you're stuck in putting any sort of strategic plan in place in your business, here's 5 questions I want you to ask yourself. Number 1, are all of your direct reports the right people in the right seats? Now, I just had this conversation with a contractor who's been working with me for a while, and he grew. When I met him, he was doing $1 million in sales. It sounds great for a lot of people. That's the dream. Doing $1 million bucks. I can't wait until we're doing $1 million bucks. Except he was $1 million and not profitable at all. Just not profitable. He took what you and I would know as project profits. And I remember when I took project profits, those were fantastic, because I would say to my wife, honey, there's extra money in the account. And she would say, well, let's not touch it for a couple of weeks and see if any other bills come in. Let's say there was $6,000 in there. We didn't know what to do. Oh my God, there's $6,000. And so we'd kind of look at that money and say, okay, after 2 weeks, if there's no surprises, let's take an extra $2,000. So we take that $2,000 and be like, oh my God, we're rich, And then a couple of weeks later, we kind of forgot, and the money just got moved into all operations. Well, that's project profits, at least the way I did it. I don't know how you do it. If the checkbook says I can take it, I'm going to take it. That's project profits. But there was no consistency. There's no reliability. There was a lot of stress and a lot of pressure on him as the owner, a lot of feelings of doubt, because he was trying to support a team and grow a business and do a great job for clients. Phone calls are coming in, as we know. And he didn't have that certainty in his business, that quiet confidence. And I talk about that quiet confidence here on the show. I want you to do this with me. If you want that quiet confidence, if you want to know what that feels like, do this with me right now. I want you, if you're sitting in your chair or if you're standing, that's fine. If you're driving, you can do this as well. But I want you to just sit up straight, and I want you to put your shoulders back just a little bit. Just shoulders back, head up, neck straight, head straight. And then I want you to lift your chin just 1/4 of an inch. And once you've done that, you're standing strong, right? Your core is engaged. I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. That's quiet confidence. The outcome of this whole thing, having a strategic plan, self-implementing EOS or not, but having a plan, waking up in the morning with certainty. That's what I want for you. And that's what all this is about. So when we talk about that client there, that contractor, asking himself, for all of my people, the right people in the right seats, the answer was no. And here's the challenge. You may have heard me say this already. We'd already been working together for years. So now you might be saying, well, Dom, you suck as a business coach. How could he get in that situation if he'd been working with you for years? And I say, yeah, maybe I do suck as a business coach. That might be true. But here's what we did to fix it. First of all, we did all the things that we needed to do when we were hiring people, right? But have you ever had that hire, and it happens to all of us, where, Sofia Vergara shows up for the interview, but Rosie O'Donnell shows up for work, if that makes sense? You hire people and then the worst of them shows up when you actually hire them. And we've all encountered this. I'm not going to pretend that we don't. There's a strategy that we've all heard as business owners, and maybe it's whispered when you're talking to really the most closest advisors or friends that are business owners, when we say it's better to hire slow and fire fast. I mean, just this week, that's come up with multiple clients, not only of mine, but also of Lee's, of Jake, of Omzi's, of Ryan's. We all talk about that. Those are all the coaches on the team, of course. We talk about that. Who of our clients is in a situation where they've hired slow, but now they've got to fire fast because we don't have the right people in the right seats. Think about your company right now. Do you have the right people in the right seats doing the right thing? And listen, the right people does not mean technical skill. I'm talking about that magic unseen thing that holds it all together, which is attitude. Does everybody in your team have the right attitude, or are they cancer inside your organization? Anyways, going back to this gentleman who has grown from 1 million to around 5 now, super profitable at 5. I think his net profit, we just calculated his net profit, so that's after everything. It was 14 point something percent, 14% net profit. So that's pretty good. We have a lot of work to go. We're not done. 14% net is good. It's not great. It's good. It's very good, but it can be very gooder. And we're getting towards very gooder. A lot of smart moves need to be made next, right? So ask yourself this question. As you're trying to self-implement EOS, or as you're trying to get control of this company and go from chaos to clarity, are all of your direct reports the right people in the right seat? Now, if that's not the case, then look, shoot me a text message and just say, Dom, let's talk. If you want to talk about the business of your contracting business, that's exactly what I'm here for. You guys know my cell phone number. It's 315-903-7853. Just say, Dom, let's talk. That's how it all starts. Let's talk. Talking, it doesn't cost us any money. We're going to get on the phone for half an hour. Let's just have a chat. I'll guide you through some things and I'll point you in the right direction. Anyways, that's item number 1. Number 2, okay, we're on a 5-point checklist to gut check yourself. Gut check yourself on why you might be stuck implementing EOS or something else. Are all of your meetings healthy, productive, and necessary? So one of the really hard things is that we all know meetings suck. They stink. We are so incredibly busy. The last thing any of us wants is another meeting, right? Am I wrong? No. But are you having healthy meetings, productive meetings, and necessary meetings? There's something I actually learned from one of my clients, and she's a very, very powerful female CEO in the contracting trades. And she says meetings are for making decisions. She is so absolutely crystal clear right. One of the hard things about meetings is to be brutally honest about who needs to be in there. If you're in a meeting with me, you need to be there. If you don't need to be there, you don't need to be in that meeting. If you're not going to leave with an accountability, if you're not going to leave with a checklist of things to do, you don't need to be in that meeting. Now, the only exception to that is sometimes you'll have a visitor to the meeting, which is totally cool, right? But sometimes you'll have an administrator there, an admin person who's there to help take notes, general support, that really important person helping the owner. And by the way, if you don't have an administrator yet, you might need to give your head a shake. Why don't you? Why don't you? There's something, I'm going to get all business coachy on you now, folks. So prepare yourselves. Maybe take a sip of your coffee. I'll take a sip of coffee too. Let's do this together. I want to change your headspace for a second. An administrator is somebody who helps, you might call it an office manager, and then you might extend it and say office manager slash bookkeeper. Whatever that position is, I want you to understand that you can't do this all alone. We need to find ways to leverage you and your brain, because we've got to keep your brain operating at its highest level in the business so you can think the big thinks and make the big decisions to grow the business. We've done this math before, but let me do it again with you. Let's say for a moment, you've built your business to $1 million a year in sales. That's somewhere between 83,000 and 85,000 per month on an ongoing basis, right? So that's great. You've built yourself to that level, probably on your own, because you are internally motivated and driven. There's a fire in you that nobody around you understands. You're just a driven person. And you've built this company to $1 million on your own, straight will and determination. And you're standing around, you're like, hey, I'm doing a good job, but I know there's more. There's more in the tank, but I don't know how to get the gears going, right? And by the way, I'm just using $1 million as an example. You could be $10 million, 20, 100 million. You're still going to have this same conversation. But what I want to talk to you about right now comes under a number of different names. We're going to talk about it right now from revenue responsibility per hour, which you've heard me talk about here on the show. For those of you who want the academic reference, if those of you want to know that I'm not pulling this out of my head, it's called Ricardo's Law of Comparative Advantage, right? Some of you would call it dollar cost averaging, depending on if you listen to other financial investment shows. But it's about using money and time in a smarter way, right? So let me go back to the example of those of you doing about $1 million in sales a year. Now, how many hours a year do you work? Now you're all laughing, and don't get your wife to answer this question because she's going to say, you work all of them, right? And if that's the case, we definitely have some systems for you. Contact me. You don't have to work every single hour of the day. You still need to be a family person, a mom, a dad, whatever you are, right? But the simple math here is divide those two numbers together. If you work 50 weeks a year, right? Every year's got 52 weeks. So let's say there's Thanksgiving, there's Christmas, maybe you take off some time to go hunting and fishing, whatever it is, but I'm going to just knock off 2 weeks, right? So 50 weeks a year, and you work 40 hours a week. I know. Well, I got to do the math with something. You're laughing. Dom, I do 40 hours by Wednesday. I get it. But just say you work 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year. That's 2,000 hours a year. So you divide 1 million and 2,000 hours, and you come out to an hourly revenue responsibility of $500 per hour. What does that mean? And how does this relate to whether all your meetings are healthy, productive, and necessary? Because you, my friend, as the leader, standing tall, shoulders back, head straight, chin up, deep breath in, you are responsible for $500 an hour in productivity in this company. You and me both. When I'm your coach, actually standing beside you, when any of us on our team as your coaches, there for the implementation of the plan, we're the same. Like, we're responsible. We are fully responsible and accountable to make sure that we're making good decisions, wise use of our time, using our time and money and resources the right way, because the weight on us is $500 an hour. That's the responsibility that you've chosen to take on when you grow this business to $1 million. And again, do your own math, right? So when I ask, are all of your meetings healthy, productive, and necessary? You standing in that meeting, you have to be able to drive value in the business at $501 an hour. If you're not getting that value out of that meeting, then you've got to change the meeting to do that, or you got to cancel that meeting. It's not worthwhile. And this is where meetings get frustrating, when they go off the rails. When somebody comes and enters, they introduce a new subject that takes the meeting in another direction. It was supposed to be a 10-minute meeting, and now it's a 45-minute meeting. Maybe it's a production meeting, and those can go long, right? Just because we have all of the moving pieces and project managing contracting project. But let's say that's supposed to be a 1-hour meeting, and it's an hour and a half, and everybody dreads going into the meeting. And of course, so they dread it, so they don't want to come, and they find reasons not to be there. And pretty soon you don't have everybody there who needs to be there, and the meeting starts to fall apart. So I'm not going to solve everything here. Again, If you have questions about your meeting rhythms, if you're not getting the traction you need in your business, shoot me a text and just say, Dom, let's talk, right? But ask yourself, are all of your meetings healthy, productive, and necessary? Good meetings have a purpose. So when we do business coaching with companies just like yours, we actually do something called a meeting inventory. It's just what it sounds like. Tell me all the meetings you've got. Who's in the meeting? What's the purpose of the meeting? What's the outcome of the meeting? There's a couple of rules to meetings, and I would leave that for an entirely separate episode, because putting your meetings together the right way in itself, it's not so much a skill as a skill and an art. Like, there's a number of different components that have to work together. Keeping in mind, none of us want to be in meetings. So let's move on. That's number 2. Here's the number 3 part on the checklist. If you're self-implementing EOS, or if you find yourself stuck getting traction in your business, getting growth, getting to the next level, let me ask you this. Do you and your people have enough time to do the job, right? Your people only have 100% of their working time, right? If it takes more than 100% of their time to do the job well, meaning 5 things that they want to get done, you're just asking too much, right? Now, you might be surprised to hear a business coach say that, especially a business coach who specializes in turnarounds. You know, we all have a trade, right? I don't know what your trade is. Listening to the show, you might be a roofer, you might be an HVAC tech, you might be a cabinet maker, you might be really good at placing concrete, right? That's your technical background. My technical background, I came through the contracting trades, and I started studying this stuff in my spare time and learning this stuff and hiring coaches and going to seminars back in the day, buying cassettes. I'm that old. I used to buy cassettes on these kind of things. So my trade has become being a turnaround business coach. That's my specialty. If you want to know what my trade is, right? If I wore a hard hat, it would say turnaround business coach. Do you and your people have enough time to do the job? It's easy. I'll tell you one of the frustrations for me as a business coach, and I've been doing this now for a long time. It doesn't matter how long, but long time. It doesn't even matter how many clients I've worked with, lots of them. It doesn't even matter how many of my own businesses, a bunch of them. What matters is I have super high expectations for output. And the voices in my head do not stop pushing me forward. The challenge is when I'm working with a client is I have to calm a lot of those voices. Why? Because when we're in a coaching meeting, you've got a business to run. I'm here as the business coach, right? So a typical business coaching rhythm, I guess you'd say, if you're on the gold coaching program with us, that's where you've got me and another coach standing beside you as you grow the business. There's 3 coaching meetings a month. 3. One of those meetings is specifically about strategy. 2 of those meetings every month is about implementation or execution or GSD, getting stuff done, right? And so you, me, and another coach work together on your business, and all of us are pushing forward. But we have to remember that you as the business owner, you're running a company. Maybe you're a cabinet installer. Maybe you're a tile installer. Maybe you're a flooring installer. Maybe you're a GC. You're already running that business. And so the challenge for us as business coaches is in our head and in our systems, we have a big, long list of stuff that needs to get done, and we want it done now. Problem is, you're running a business. So actually, there's a rule that we have in business coaching. I don't know if you know of this, but I'm happy to share it. At the end of any coaching meeting, at the end of any business coaching meeting you have with our team here, there can only be 3 action items for you as the client, as the business owner, only 3. And that gets broken down one other step. Of those 3 action items, 2 of them must be minor and only 1 can be major. So what's major? Major is going to take you a little bit of time to do. And what are the minor ones? Minor's pretty quick. So some of the minor examples might be talk to the bookkeeper about that report. Ask the bookkeeper for that report, right? Or download this tool, do this assessment, and just go for coffee and do that. That's a minor thing. A major thing might be talk to your foreman about the production scheduling issue we have. Talk to call in a vendor and ask about the pricing that they had promised to give you, but we didn't get the credits. And it's going to take some time. That's major. And then that's an example of some minor things. And obviously they change depending on you, your situation, your trade, time of year, stage of business, and all those things. But when I go back to the questions that might be holding you back on implementing EOS on your own or getting traction in your business, here comes that word traction, which is right from the book. Ask yourself, do you and your people have enough time to do the job? Um, if you find yourself in a situation where you are stuck on item number 3, do me and my people have enough time to do what we need to do to turn this around? There's a download we have that I don't actually talk about very much, but I'm happy to share it if you want it. I'll tell you 2 seconds. It's called the Blueprint, Construction Millionaire Blueprint. And what I did many years ago when I was starting to train the business coaches who've now joined the team is I had to put down the order of operations of a business turnaround in one flowchart. I love flowcharts. I'm kind of a geek. I like flowcharts, right? And so the flowchart is the Construction Millionaire Blueprint. If you want the blueprint, I'm happy to share it with you. It just walks you through, do this, then do that, then do this. And if you're ever stuck at any stage, you simply go back up the loop. It's just a blueprint like you would, or I'm sorry, it's a flowchart like you would have any flowchart, right? Do this, do this, do this, do this. If you're stuck, go back up a level. If you're stuck there, go back up a level and get that done. It actually lays out how to break through all these 5 questions anyways. It's called the Construction Millionaire Blueprint. If you want that, what's the keyword? Just send me the word blueprint. Send me the word blueprint and I'll know which one to send you. Text it to me. Easiest thing, 315-903-7853. Listen, I will tell you, it is a meaty, chunky, beefy piece of documentation. It's not big, but as you look through it, you're going to say, well, I'm doing that. I'm doing that. I'm doing that, but I skipped 3 steps to get to that. You realize that there's some steps missing, right? Other people look at it and go, I don't even know about this step. I didn't realize that was a thing. So it'll help you. It'll give you some perspective. But here's what I want you to do. If you get that download from me, and I want you to have it, leave the off, print the thing off, leave the office, go get a coffee. Do yourself the favor. Please go get a coffee at a nice coffee shop. Recently I was in Pennsylvania and I stopped at a Starbucks. It could have been a surgical operating room at a hospital. It was not nice in there. Go somewhere nicer than Starbucks. Like go to a nice coffee shop or go to a grungy diner. I don't care. I don't. But what I want you to be is some place that you're comfortable, but also up market. I want you to think up market. As a matter of fact, if we really want to throw a double challenge on the table, I want you to go to the coffee shop where your perfect customer hangs out. If you want to work in the nicest neighborhoods or if you want to work with the best GCs and builders, go where that builder goes for coffee. Sit in that coffee shop with this blueprint that you've downloaded from me. Get a cup of coffee. And when you think, Dom, money's a little bit tight right now, I really can't afford to buy myself coffee, then take a selfie of yourself with the paper and the coffee and send it to me. Just send it to the same cell phone number, text it to me, and I'll send you a $5 Amazon gift card. I want to buy your coffee. I know it's goofy and I, probably never heard this kind of thing before, but I'm committed to your success. My whole team is. I hope we will do what it takes to help you get where you want. Have you guys ever heard the analogy of the how life shows up in your breakfast plate? Bacon and eggs, right? You have to ask yourself, is Dom the bacon or the eggs? And you're like, Rubino, come on, man. You come up with some weird analogies, but where's this one going? Well, when you hear me offering to pay for your coffee, when you hear me offering free downloads that'll walk you through this you actually never need to talk to me in your life and you will still know how to turn around your business. And you never have to talk to me. Just send me a cell phone, a text message on the cell, get the free download and go put the thing in place. Right? But you also have to ask yourself, are Rubino and his team like the breakfast plate? Are they the eggs or the bacon? And the analogy there is level of commitment. When you look at your plate of breakfast, maybe on a Saturday morning, you're having bacon and eggs. Which one of those is more committed, the chicken or the pig? The chicken is a participant. It gave you some eggs. But the bacon, pig, he's committed. I'm the bacon. 100% committed to your success. I'm not kidding, right? What can I do to help? That's why I said, if you want to talk, just say, Dom, let's talk. Send me a text message. It's that easy, right? The only thing holding you back is you. Anyways, we're still on question number 3. The offer I just made was, if you want to do this on your own, if you find yourself stuck on the first 3 questions, are all of your direct reports the right people in the right seat? Are all of your meetings healthy, productive, and necessary? Do you and your people have enough time to do the job? In those, the first 3 questions, just send me a message, get the blueprint, and then you'll be able to see what's going on. All right, number 4. Number 4, is everybody following the process? Is everybody on board? You know, we just had another contractor who wanted to put lean in place. Now, those of you who aren't familiar with lean implementation, the Toyota way, it's also called Kaizen. It also gets referred to as continuous and never-ending improvement. You might think, well, lean doesn't matter for me, Dom. Everything we do is custom. Yeah, okay. Just cool your jets, my friend. Lean is not about production. It's about the process. It's a mindset of efficiency, of removing waste. You guys have heard me talk about how to find and fix the 8 profit leaks in your business. Some of you have downloaded that. Just send me that, say profit leaks, I'll send it to you. But that's what we're talking about is everybody following the manufacturing process? Do we have leaks in our business? And profit leaks, by the way, are the worst kind of leak that we can have, because we've already made that money. It's actually ours for the taking. And at the last minute, it slips from our grasp inside the company. So let me ask you this, is everybody following the process? Again, a contractor that I just started working with, or we just started working with as the company here, he's actually being coached by Coach Lee, has somebody on the team who doesn't want to follow the lean methodology. Part of the lean methodology is things that might blow your mind. Like the first one is you take a half hour every day to do something called set, sort, and order, which means that when the whistle goes or the bell goes off, whatever you have, your buzzer in your shop or your job site, you take a half an hour to clean and organize your workspace, to sort yourself. And some of you are shaking your head. You're like, are you kidding me? We're already tight for time, and you want me to take 30 minutes to sort of tidy things up? Yes. Yes. If your mind isn't there yet, it's okay. But understand that this particular contractor's mind is there, and that's the challenge of the day. He's got a super brilliant technician who said to him, I ain't sweeping. Because sweeping is something everybody needs to do. Sweeping is something even the president and owner would do. So when you go to Toyota, everybody, including the president of the company, would sweep. They would sweep the shop. They would sweep the job site. They would sweep because sweeping shows the discipline of keeping everything in order. And he had this gentleman who said, I ain't sweeping. Sweeping's not for me. If I work here, I don't sweep. Well, that gentleman no longer works in that company. And that was a cojones move on my client's part, on our client's part. Cojones. Because if everybody's not following the process is always going to get stuck. You can't have a separate set of rules for your brother, Jimmy. Sorry if you got a brother named Jimmy who wants a separate set of rules. It's not going to work. It is not going to work if Jimmy's got a separate set of rules. Funny side story. Do you guys like funny side stories? Who wants a funny side story that's going to amaze you? This is years ago, but I get called into a construction company that I know very well. And I'm having a meeting with only one of the 3 partners, which is not ideal, but it was the start of the conversation. So that's where we were. As I'm having the meeting, I could see that somebody is walking behind me, because the owner that I'm speaking to keeps looking out the sort of the, you've got that 2-foot glass panel, vertical glass panel, so you can see out while it's still private in the office. I can see him looking out there. There's somebody else walking around. And I'm like, hey, do you have to go talk to us? He goes, no, it's my brother-in-law. He just wants to see what's going on in here. I'm like, invite him in. He's like, nope. And in my mind, I'm like, well, we're talking about your contracting business. It's about a $10 million commercial contractor doing the kind of work that you would do. They have all the contracts at the university and the hospital, like they do, and at transit stations, like they do big stuff like that, right? They're doing about 10 million a year at this time. Right now, I think they're around 25 now. 10 million a year. And I'm like, well, what's going on? He goes, well, look, it's me. I'm the brother-in-law, and my other 2 partners are brothers. So the guy that I'm talking to is the brother-in-law. He married the sister, if that makes sense. One of the brother-in-laws has a quote unquote problem. And he comes in, and every once in a while he says, I need this much money, no questions asked. I need this much money, no questions asked. And the way the family runs, they just give him the money. He's got a problem with some bad people, and it's around gambling, as you probably already figured out. And they just keep siphoning money off, but he takes that money, and none of the brother-in-law and the brother don't take it either. And so there's a separate set of rules for this brother who's got a gambling problem. And he just comes in and like he asks for tens of thousands at a time. But it has to be no questions asked. And because he's the little brother and everybody wants to protect him and blah, blah, blah. So he's built this situation where he can ask for anything he wants, no questions asked. And everybody wants to protect him. It's always poor, I'll make up his name, poor Jimmy, poor Johnny, poor Timmy, right? That's a pretty extreme situation. But if you're running a company, you're building a team. Everybody has to follow the process, right? You can't have a football team and have one guy playing soccer. You just can't do it. You can't have a hockey team and have one guy playing tennis. It's time to stand up as a leader and find a way to get everybody following the process. And if they can't do that, they don't get to be on the team. And it's easier said than done. We walk through this kind of process all the time. One of the things you might not know is that being a business coach, especially in contracting and construction, has a lot to do with family business dynamics. The only other industry I could think of that would have more family business dynamics is the restaurant industry. And we don't coach that industry at all. But we do coach construction and contracting. If you have questions about that, even if it's dicey conversation and you don't know who else to talk to, just again, I want to make the offer. Just send me a text and just say, Dom, let's talk. 315-903-7853. Just say, Dom, let's talk. 315-903-7853. All right, that's question 4. Is everybody following the process? And then number 5, are you taking breaks? Are you taking breaks to get clear? Now, the way that we do that when we use the EOS model for business coaching, which it works so well for construction, for contracting, for subtrades, for GCs, for builders. And the reason it works well is because it's easy to understand. You know, I was talking about mastering the Rockefeller habits system earlier. It's good, but it's a little more corporate. You know, the company I used it for is the one that I had built to 120 million in sales. It made sense there. We had lots of departments. We had lots of departmental managers. Those managers had maybe 20 people ultimately reporting to them each. You know, one of our departments was 40 people on its own. So you need that kind, when you have got that kind of complexity, you need a different system, which is fine. I know that system as well. But the system that generally works great for contracting and construction, even if you're largely made up of subtrades, is the book Traction. And so that's why today is all about, are you self-implementing EOS and are you stuck, and getting back to basics. So I want to talk about somebody who got stuck. Look, there was a company that I've been talking to for a while, and you know, they're like, hey, Dom, we think we might want to coach with you guys. It's interesting. We listen to the podcast. We love your stuff. We got all the downloads. You know, we look at them, and they're an active participant in the podcast, right? There's some people who listen and never ask for the downloads. Totally cool. There's other people who like download everything we've ever offered, and that's great too. And there's a lot of people who download them or who ask for them, and we send them and they never download them, right? So there's that category of people. So they've got them in their inbox and they'll get to it later. And then there's a category like this one. They actually download everything and the owner thinks about it and does the work and has gotten $5 Amazon gift cards from me because they're doing the work. It's all good. But we haven't started working together, right? That's fine. That's fine. I live in a world where you already are my business coaching client. Did you know that? Yeah, in my head, you were already my client. And just waiting for us to meet. Anyways, this company saw a lot of success that EOS was bringing because they were self-implementing. But what happened is it kind of became the flavor of the day. They got a lot of initial momentum in the company, but they got not complacent, but they just kind of used to it. And the momentum fell away, right? And so how does that look? Well, pretty soon they stopped having the L10 meetings. The L10 meeting is what we would call a coaching meeting. An L10 meeting, level 10 meeting, is where we all get together and talk about the accountabilities that we have in our departments, right? So your foreman has some accountabilities. If you've got a project manager, they've got some accountabilities. If you got a bookkeeper or somebody in the office, they've got accountabilities, right? Maybe you have an engineering department or a drafting or an estimating. You know, see what I mean? Everybody who's in that meeting has some accountabilities this quarter, which means in the next 3 months, the estimator has to get this done, these three things done. The foreman has to get these three things done. And that's what an L10 meeting is. But what happened is, and this happens so often, they started skipping the L10. And it's for all the normal reasons, right? It was Thanksgiving that week, so we kind of skipped it. And then so that was 1 week missed. Then we missed 2 weeks. And then it was 3 weeks. And pretty soon somebody goes, hey, weren't we supposed to have an L10 meeting? And the people in the background go, yeah, but don't remind the boss or we're going to have to do it again. And so it just kind of falls off. It just naturally goes, and you lose that momentum. And I know who I'm speaking to. I'm speaking to us as the owners of these businesses. If we don't keep the focus, if we don't keep the fire burning, then the water doesn't boil, right? So because they're getting success in general, they didn't notice that even without the L10 meetings, some of the leading indicators on their scorecard, right, on the dashboard, were starting to dry up. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you don't have a dashboard is something we use here, and you'll see that in the blueprint, by the way. You'll see that you've got a dashboard in place. You understand your key numbers, right? Those key numbers help you understand what the business is going to do, not today. Today's already done. I want to know what's happening in a week, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years. And we use leading indicators in the business that tell us what's coming down the pipeline. Some of you call that work in progress. We've all got different names in different industries and the way we run our companies, right? But if you're not paying attention to the numbers, you're not reading the story of the future of the business, right? So I'm going to use an exact situation. I've got a home renovation client I've been working with for a while, and they had some problem with their designers. Now, their designers are actually the salespeople, right? They're called designers, but they go out and they meet the homeowners and they sell the renovation project. And then, they kind of project manage it until it gets to a certain stage. And then the construction people take over and, it all gets managed inside the company as a normal process for a home reno. The math you need to know that'll help with this is from the first day they meet a prospect. Let's say they meet somebody at the home show, just as an example. It takes about 3 months to close that deal, to actually get pen on paper, contract, and check in hand. So there's 3 months, right? So they meet somebody at the home show. It takes 3 months to get that deal closed. Now, some of you it takes longer, some of you it takes less. Doesn't matter. That's their number. But the designers started losing sight of their goals. And the designers weren't following up properly and weren't closing deals. So 3 months was stretching into 4 months, stretched into 5 months, stretched into 6 months. And sales were drying up. Now, when sales dry up, you guys know what happens. You're starting to lay guys off in the field. And it's hard to find good quality people in the field. How do you replace them? But if you don't have work, you can't keep them. So it was getting pretty dicey. Ultimately, the decision had to be made that one of the designers was not the right seat on the right bus because she was cancer. She just had the wrong attitude. And she was blaming everything around herself instead of saying, I'm not doing a good job of following up with people, of helping put their vision on paper, building the dream, etc. And we all have different trades here. I understand that, and different ways of approaching our trade. I get that. But in this situation, that's what happened. So think about that 6-month gap now. If we had another rock star who we inserted in there, it would still take that rock star designer 3 months to close a deal. So we now have 9 months of bruising inside the company, all because they started skipping the meetings. The momentum fell off. We took our eye off the ball. 9 months to close the meeting, a year and a half to complete the job. The impact on the cash flow was so intense because they stopped paying attention to the critical numbers they needed to and taking action on it, right? That's when the wheels start to come off, folks. And you may have seen this. If you're stuck in that loop and if you're frustrated, we got to get you back to where you've got that quiet confidence where what did I say earlier? Chaos to clarity, right? You just got to get back in control of the business. And there's tools to do that, which is why you're listening to the show, right? I want to get you back to the basics, right? If you're self-implementing EOS, or if you've never had a plan before, here's a couple of tools that'll get you started. I'm going to take you in a weird direction. This is one you probably didn't expect me to go in. If you're still not sure what to do next, I want to get you back to the basics with you yourself as the leader. I want you to do this exercise on your own. There's no use trying to change the team until you know what your priorities are first. What are you trying to build? And so there's a download I want to offer you. Some of you already have it, which is cool. Doesn't matter. It's still valuable. It's called the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise Planner. And if you want it, text me 315-903-7853 and just say healthy, wealthy, wise. Now, the reason this is important, well, actually, let me tell you where I got this. I got this through a friend of mine who runs another podcast called What CEOs Talk About. So you might be thinking, well, Dom, I don't need this healthy, wealthy, wise planner. What the heck are you talking about? CEOs use it. CEOs of large, multinational, multi-gajillion dollar companies use this tool. So you, my friend, if you don't think you need this tool, you got to check up from the neck up. It's exactly what you need. Because unless you and I are solid, listen, unless you're solid as a parent and as a parenting team, what's going to happen to your kids, right? Unless you and I are solid in our faith and our fitness and our way of looking forward in the future, what's going to happen to the rest of our lives? And so this healthy, wealthy, wise planner is a surprise. You didn't probably expect to hear that when we're talking about, are you self-implementing EOS? But how I do anything is how I do everything. And if I have a calm inner voice, if I'm solid in my goals, if I cannot be pushed off the horse, or to use the horse analogy, you guys have heard me talk about my ranching friends. If you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. Well, what do you stand for? What do I stand for? What's my healthy, wealthy, wise planner? Anyways, just get it. Take a picture, take a selfie. We've all done selfies with your cup of coffee and text it to me and I'll buy your coffee. And you get the free download. It's called the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise Planner. But get yourself centered first before you start going to the team and trying to change them. Because flavor of the day and losing momentum on these things actually causes a lot of problems. You know, one of the reasons that coaching works so well, and I'm not even talking about me, you might decide never to work with me or my team here, ever, and that's fine. But the reason coaching works well is because coaching works well. Why do athletes have business coaches? Why do politicians have speech writers? Why do musicians have coaches and producers? Because they're at the top of their game and they're always looking for that edge to get better. And the ones that are up and coming that we've never heard of, the athletes we've never heard of before, are toiling in obscurity right now in a field, in a gym, at a community center. They're the future athletes that we're going to be cheering for on TV. And right now they're toiling in obscurity, scratching every penny together to get a specialty coach for fitness, nutrition, mindset, strength, stamina, fast twitch muscle fiber, whatever it is they know they need to work on. They don't shirk from it. They're like, I need better reaction times. And so they do the better reaction time exercises that they need to, just the same as I suggested the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise Planner for us. But you can download fast twitch muscle exercises right off the internet. So why would they go get a coach? Accountability, the little things, perspective. Somebody standing there 5 or 6 feet away saying, you know, when you place your foot, I noticed that your left foot is a little pigeon-toed. Why don't you try to set it a bit to the outside so you can engage the outer quadriceps? And that'll increase your speed. That little tip, how are you ever going to know that if you're looking down at your own foot? You need the perspective. We all need that perspective. I need that perspective. I work with coaches. I'm no different than you. No different at all, except that I think I'm at the point where I've realized I don't have all the answers. I got a lot of questions. But you go tell me what to do, and we're engaged in that goal, I will do it. Nothing will stop me. If we encounter a problem, bring it on, over it, under it, around it, through it, or I'm going to redefine it so it suits my purposes. And, you know, you can get there too. You can get there too, but you got to know who you are first. So get the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise Plan. I can't even remember how many different documents I've suggested today. If I suggested it, and if you want it, as you know, send me a text message at 315-903-7853. And beyond all of that, just say, Dom, let's talk. If you think you're finally ready to take the step to get this company where you want to get it to. All right. We covered a lot here. Your cabinet shop, your roofing company, whatever trade you've got, your HVAC business, your remodeling company, wherever it is today can be a different place tomorrow. I want to take you back to Ricardo's law of comparative advantage, the revenue responsibility per hour. Stand proud and stand tall. You've created something out of nothing. Using that $1 million metric, get an assistant, somebody who you pay 25, 40 bucks an hour because you're worth $500 an hour. Remember, we're not going to invoice ourselves to the next client at 500 bucks to go fix the gate to her backyard. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is the responsibility you have looking out over the company you've built, over the vans in your fleet, over your shop, whatever it is. You have to be doing work at 501 bucks an hour to make that make sense. You've always got to be moving forward. If $500 an hour is your number, by the way, and this podcast episode itself did not give you $501 of value, then you have my full permission to unsubscribe and delete all upcoming episodes because it's a waste of your time. And you, my friend, are too important to waste your time. It's just how that's just cold logic. Anyhow, can you tell I love this stuff? I hope you can. I do. I love it. I'm here to help however I can. Listen, we've added people to the team. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in the outro. I would be very proud to work with you as your business coach. We've seen a lot of things, but we haven't seen everything. We're still open to learning. We still train ourselves a lot as business coaches, as a coaching team. And so we believe in what we do here because we're always also training ourselves. So let's find a way to talk at some point in the future when you're ready. As I said earlier, in my head, you're already my coaching client. We just haven't met yet. But that's the level of certainty that I go into this world with because I know that myself and Lee and the rest of us here, Omzi, Ryan, Jake, we can help. We're here to help. This is what we love to do. Love it. And we have the intent. All right. If you're self-implementing EOS and you're having success, keep at it. You're on the right path. It is exactly the tool that you need. And so let me give you a thumbs up. If you've stopped having the L10 meetings, if you've stopped looking at the dashboard, if you don't have the right people on the team, if somehow, somewhere things just aren't going the way you want them to, then let's go find the root cause. Why is that the case? And let's go fix that because it can be done. All right, folks, thanks very much. We're going to head to the outro now. We'll talk to you soon. Well, what did you learn from me today as we were talking about self-implementing EOS, whether you have done EOS or not? And what can you put in place? Hopefully you take some actions away from today that'll help you, give you some clarity, give you some guidance, give you some direction on where you need to go. Hey, I got a text message, kind of a long one, but I got a text message. Somebody got me a note here and just said, thank you. This guy's name is Aaron. We're going to call him Aaron. He's in New Mexico. And man, every once in a while, I get a message where somebody just lays it out there and it's nice to hear, but I want to share it with you. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Hey there. Just want to drop you a quick text to say thanks a bunch. I first heard you on the Warrior Dad podcast. So I was a guest on another show and he must have found me there and then started listening to my show, which is nice. I'm a ceiling contractor in New Mexico. Finding balance between work and family has been a real struggle, man. But your podcast totally opened my eyes. The Healthy, Wealthy, Wise Planner, a game changer. Seriously, sitting down with that thing was like getting hit with a bolt of clarity. I realized I was drowning in work and missing out on precious time with my family, I guess. So I made a commitment to change things up, started setting boundaries, delegating tasks smarter, and boom, I've been home by 5 p.m. for the past 2 weeks straight. I love hearing that. The look on my kids' faces when I walk in early, priceless. Just want to shoot you a text, say thanks for making a huge difference in my life. Your podcast isn't just about being a better business person. It's about being a business person who just happens to run a ceiling contracting company. Hey, keep doing what you're doing, man. You're changing lives, mine included. Catch you later. Love it. I love it. Thanks, Aaron. His name's not Aaron. I changed the name, but the gentleman that sent me that will certainly know it's him when he hears it. And thank you for sending that. I really appreciate it. Hey, before we simplify and solve a common problem, I want to let you know some big changes that have gone on here. For those of you who've been following me, even with a moderate interest, you're going to have seen that lots of things changed here. I started we changed from the name 10x Built at this top level of the organization, and we changed it to Contractor Wealth Systems. And the reason for that is I'm working towards building a platform for contractor wealth. This isn't just about, well, I say it here on the show, it's about the business of the contracting business. 10x Built didn't seem to match that. And you hear me talking about aligning myself with my perfect customer. And 10x Built didn't seem to resonate right. You know that I had a problem with a contractor of my own who I had to terminate, and they caused a little bit of stink. But you know what? I had to do that because our values weren't aligned. They did some things that I certainly didn't appreciate afterwards, which, you know, it just showed their true colors. And I have to go and be smarter about how I do business. You'd think by the age of 56, I would have had this all figured out. I don't have it all figured out, folks. But what I will tell you is I won't be stopped. I will not be stopped. Anyways, the whole branding thing had started much earlier than that. Talking about contractor wealth systems is important to me because you guys know that we do one-on-one coaching. Many of you have taken the Construction Millionaire Bootcamp. Many of you have taken the courses that we run from time to time. We're going to be doing more of those in the future. So Contractor Wealth Systems was created because I've got two podcasts that I host on my own. Obviously, I'm a guest on other shows. Aaron's note above was from me being on the Warrior Dad podcast, and I'm on lots of other shows as a guest there. But the two podcasts that I have, this one is Profit Tool Belt, and the other one's called Cabinet Maker Profit System. And if you're not in the mindset of understanding how those two go together, it can seem confusing. So above that is Contractor Wealth Systems, and it just happens to be these two podcasts where you find me. Now, inside of Contractor Wealth Systems, what we're going to be continuing to offer and doing more of are these changes. So this might be interesting to you. As you know, we do business coaching, and business coaching one-on-one is where we stand beside you as you grow this business. We help you get the vision and the clarity, and then we provide accountability. You may not know this, but business coaching is 3 meetings a month, 3 one-hour meetings a month. So it's easy to consume, but you get a lot of value, right? One of the meetings every month is a strategy meeting, and 2 of the meetings are implementation meetings. So there's a lot of momentum. Every time you hear a guest on this show or somebody who's gotten what sounds like these fantastic results, what you don't know is going on in the background is they're getting business coached. So that's business coaching. We've also introduced something new. You have not heard about this yet. It's brand new. It's called a business operations audit. I'll call them Rob and Melissa are already doing it. We've got a gentleman named Kurt already doing it. We've got a gentleman named Mark doing it. Mark is a contractor, and the coolest thing, he changes railroad ties. How cool is that? So he's a heavy equipment operator. He's got a tiger by the tail with his business, and he knows he's got even more upside. Great guy. So there's 3 people who've already heard of the business operations audit. It's brand new, but it's a great way to dip your toe in the water and get a full perspective on your business and an overview of what to do next. It's a little more cost effective before you make a decision to go either way, because you can always join us in bootcamp, the Construction Millionaire Bootcamp, and you've heard lots of success stories from that as well on the show. And you can also do coaching, but sometimes people don't know which direction to go. So we've created this new program called the Business Operations Audit. It's a 4-part assessment of your business, complete with a written and a personal debrief in your personal situation. So that's kind of cool. Then we've got the Construction Millionaire Bootcamp, and you guys have heard about this. For those of you who've been listening for a long time, it used to be called 30-Day Construction Business. That still continues to run. It's a nice 6-week intensive course that walks you through how to get this business to the next level. It's the fundamental aspects of doing that. We've met lots of fantastic people there. We see lots of fantastic results. In a little while, you're going to see James Mitten just went down to Argentina for a hunting trip, a dove hunting trip. We sponsored part of that hunting trip for him. But he was a boot camp client as a contractor. And I mean, you read between the lines. Now he's doing hunts in Argentina. So you figure out where that's going. Anyways, we've added something new to that as well. The boot camp alumni program. So if you've been in boot camp before, if you were in 30-Day Construction Business before that, which is essentially the same program, but we changed the name 3 or 4 years ago, you now will have available to you joining the alumni program. Pretty cool program. You're going to love it. Anyways, there's lots of new things happening here. trying to be dynamic, trying to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the people who listen. And I'm listening to your feedback. So that's where all these came from. The other thing that's going to be happening is more courses, more courses. For different trades, there's going to be courses. There's going to be courses on things that, you know what, I'm going to leave it for now. You're going to find out about the courses as we go, but these courses are little intensive professional development tools that help you move forward. As a matter of fact, the word professional development tools is going to be entering our language a lot more, because really what we do here is professional development for contractors. And as I say that, I want you to remember, shoulders back, chin up, deep breath in. This is a professional development program that we're talking about, the profession of being a contractor, right? All right. Thanks for listening to that little part. But listen, we're going to simplify and solve a common problem. And actually, I think we did that today. The common problem of how do I turn this business around? You know, today we talked about the blueprint. If you want the blueprint, send me a text message, 315-903-7853. Heck, if you just want to talk, say, Dom, let's talk, 315-903-7853. And then we also talked a couple of times about the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise Planner. It's come up so many times. You know, typically I would only introduce that at New Year's. You know, it's a good January 1st kind of thing. Maybe it's a after the August long weekend kind of thing, as you're feeling reinvigorated after summer. But it just keeps coming up. It just keeps coming up. That one there, people have gotten a ton of value from. I think the self-reflection is a big one. So if you want the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise Planner, send me a note on that. So to simplify and solve a common business problem, we really come back to the mindset of being a business owner. And what tools do we need as a business owner to take ourselves forward when we're alone? Even if you've got a company of 50, 100 people, you're alone. And coming to a show like this is where you don't feel so alone, right? Joining the contractor strategy group on Facebook, you're around other contractors. And we're just asking boring contractor type questions like, how do you price this situation? Or, you know, has anybody got a problem rolling out a new compensation plan with their employees? And what have you done about those kind of questions? Who else are you going to ask, right? Keep in mind that if you go ask the people that you normally run across in your day-to-day business who aren't in the company, but are sort of, you know, that circle around the company, which one of those people has intent, right? If you ask one of your vendors, somebody who supplies you with wholesale goods, let's say lumber, the intent of that sales rep is to sell you more lumber. If they sell you fasteners, they want to sell you more fasteners, right? Our intent here is only one thing, and that is your improvement, professional development. And so be careful who you get your advice from, because the guy selling you lumber is going to want to advise you in a way that helps you buy more lumber, right? I say that knowing that Jake Power is listening, and Jake runs his own cedar mill. So Jake, you know, take that with a grain of salt, but, and Jake's one of our coaches too. So it's generally, it's okay. Anyways, think about those takeaways today. No matter what happens today, we've covered a lot, beefy, meaty episode for sure, but you only have to do one thing. You only have to do one thing from that. And if you're confused on which one thing to do, then stop for a second, get one of these downloads, go for a cup of coffee, work on that piece of paper, take a selfie, shoot me a message with that selfie. You send it to the same cell phone number, and then I'll send you $5 to buy your coffee. So I'm going to pay you to work your way through these problems, challenges, opportunities, the things that are in front of you. And then, of course, on top of all of that, if you do want to talk, just always send me a message and say, Dom, let's talk. All right, folks, thank you very much. If you are living in a world where you want more predictability in your life, then this is the show for you. Thanks again for listening in. Guys, you know that this podcast is thin soup until the day you and I can meet for a cup of coffee or a glass of wine across a table somewhere and have a real conversation like real humans. But it's a pretty good way to kill the time in between. So until that happens, let's keep meeting here on the podcast. Thanks. We'll see you in the next episode.